Hi students. For the next few weeks I want to talk to you about heat and temperature. Now I'm sure you're familiar with those words and you probably know what they mean. But let me ask you some questions. Do they mean the same thing? Are heat and temperature essentially the same idea? And what is temperature? Do you have a sense of temperature? Can you tell when something is hot or cold? You might take a minute to pause the video and talk about those questions. So if I asked you to feel this cup of water, you could tell me whether that cup of water was hot or cold to your touch, correct? Well, today you're going to do an experiment with someone in your family perhaps, or a classmate who's not present currently. And here's how you'll do it. You'll actually take 3 cups of water. Now this one has been sitting out for a while, so it's at room temperature. It is not hot, it is not cold. So you'll fill 1 cup of water with water that is at room temperature, and you can put the faucet in between the hot and the cold and let it run for a minute to get it there. Feel it with your fingers to make sure it feels pretty much average. Then you'll need 2 more cups. So now I have 3 cups of water. This one was the room temperature water. This one is very cold. I actually put ice cubes in there to get it extremely cold, and then I remove the ice cubes so a person looking at that can't tell the temperature by just looking and seeing that there's ice in there. And notice that they have the same amount of water. This one, on the other hand, was filled with hot water. And you want to make sure it's not so hot that it's going to burn someone. But I have cold, medium, and hot. Now here's how this experiment is going to work. You're going to remove the hot water cup and put it somewhere else. For the initial experiment, you'll ask your assistant to come in and put their finger in the cold water and hold it there for about a half a minute, about 30 seconds. Then ask them to put their finger into this cup of water and tell you whether it is warm or cold or hot or whatever they think. So after about a half a minute, make sure their finger is way down inside. Have them feel this. Now when I feel that, that feels warm to me. Now, have them leave the room and then remove the cold water and put the hot water in its place. Then bring them back in. Have them repeat the experiment by putting their finger in the hot water and hold it for about 30 seconds. After that time, they're going to feel this water and tell you if it's hot or cold or warm. Now, after a few seconds, about a half a minute, I put my hand in here and that feels a little bit cool to me. Now, isn't that interesting that a minute ago, this felt warm to me, and now it doesn't feel warm. It feels kind of coolish, a little bit colder than the room does. How is it that I can tell the temperature with my hand and yet I don't know the temperature? Because at the beginning you probably said, yeah, I could feel a cup of water and tell you whether it's hot or cold. I have a sense of temperature. And yet your subject most likely gave you 2 different answers about this. Now, if you want to try another experiment that's very interesting, here's one you can do on yourself. Take out all 3 cups, hot water, cold water, room temperature. Put your fingers in the hot and cold water. Now, my left finger feels very cold. My right finger feels very warm. And after about a half a minute, put both fingers in the middle cup. Now, I'm getting a very weird signal to my brain. My brain is telling me that this cup is warm and it's not warm, it's cool. My left hand is telling me that this cup is warm. My right hand is telling me it's cool. So I'm getting 2 different messages about the same cup of water. So we have to ask ourselves, what is temperature? What does it mean to feel hot or feel cold? And can you really feel hot and cold? Can you really detect temperature with your skin? Pause the video and discuss that with your classmates, or just pause the video and think about it if you're working from home. Now for a second experiment, this time you'll be the subject. I'm going to ask you to feel 4 objects around your home or classroom and list them on a piece of paper from the warmest one at the top to the coolest one at the bottom, just like on a thermometer where your hotter temperatures are at the top and colder temperatures are down below. So of these 4 items, the one that feels warmest to your skin will go near the top. The one that feels coldest to your skin will go towards the bottom. Now the 4 things I want you to feel are a piece of paper, something plastic, something metal like the leg of a table or the leg of a chair, and lastly, the carpet on a floor. Those are the 4 things I want you to feel. Now before you do that, I want you to keep something in mind. We're trying to tell the difference in temperatures of these items. So don't feel like a metal door that's on an outside wall where it's cold outside, because that will affect the temperature of the door. Don't feel a plastic chair in which you've just been sitting, because your body will have warmed that plastic chair. Don't touch the plastic on your laptop device, because the plastic has been heated by the energy inside. So don't touch a carpet where the sun is shining on it, because that's added energy to that carpet as well. You want to try to be fair about this. Touch a piece of paper that hasn't been handled, touch some plastic that hasn't been handled, touch the carpet maybe in the center of the room, and find something metal that has not been interacting with something and feel that. So take a minute now to pause the video, find those 4 objects: paper, plastic, carpet, and the metal. And then list those in your paper, the warmest one at the top, the coldest one at the bottom. Well, welcome back. Now it's time to see how you organize these. I would bet that many of you placed either the paper or the plastic or the carpet as the warmest. You may have said that there was even a tie. Maybe you said, you know, the paper and plastic felt the same to me. And it's okay to list them on the same line if you think they're tied. But who's the warmest? Who's the coldest? Who's in between? And when I've done this with my own classroom, almost everyone says that the metal leg of their table felt the coldest. Do you agree with that statement? Is that how it felt to you? Well, now I'm going to take this device and measure their temperatures. This is an infrared thermometer. I simply point it at something, pull the trigger on it, and a red laser dot will appear. There it is. And that is now telling you right there the temperature of my lab coat. Now, this will work in Celsius or it will work in Fahrenheit. But right now I have it set to Celsius because scientists like to use Celsius. Fahrenheit's only used in a few nations of the world, America and a few others. You might do some research to find out what countries still use Fahrenheit. But the vast majority of the world, scientists use Celsius, so it's like a common language. So here we go. I'm now going to tell you the temperatures of the paper, the plastic, the carpet, and the metal leg of my science table. Are you ready? So my paper is 21 degrees Celsius. That would be about 70 degrees Fahrenheit. This plastic chair over here is also 21 degrees Celsius. They are tied. Now, pointing this at the floor, the carpeting on the floor in between myself and the camera, I get 21 degrees Celsius. That's very interesting. Now, lastly, I'm going to point it at the metal leg of this chair or this table. Feels cold when I touch it. And it is 21 degrees Celsius. All of these, the paper, the plastic, the carpet, and the metal of this table are exactly the same temperature. In fact, I said that was about 70 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's what I have the thermostat set for in this room is 70 degrees. So this paper is room temperature. So is this chair, so is the carpet, and so is the table leg. In fact, everything in this room is room temperature. Unless it's something like myself. If I point this at my skin, I get a temperature much warmer than room temperature. The palm of my hand is 30 degrees Celsius. That's like 90 Fahrenheit. When I pointed at my lab coat, I got about 22 or 23 degrees Celsius because my lab coat is on my body. Even though my lab coat doesn't produce energy, my body has heated it a couple of degrees Celsius. So why is it, if these things are all the same temperature, they don't feel the same to me? What's causing that to happen? That's a very interesting question. And we're going to ponder that. You might want to do some research. And then we'll continue next week in learning about what exactly is temperature and what does it mean to feel hot or feel cold.